Welcome to the video introducing you to Kenmore machine number 8. That's this person right here. Kenmore machine number 8 has a case. The case got a little bit damaged in the shipping getting it to us off of eBay, so I'm unclear yet whether or not it'll come with a case or not. At any rate, we'll have some sort of cover for you to put over the top of it to keep it safe at home if it doesn't have a case. All right, so let's take a look at some of the basic features. This is the Kenmore Ultra Stitch 8. It's very similar. There's another machine that is being sent out that is an Ultra Stitch 12 that does a few more stitches than this one, but this is the Ultra Stitch 8. In order to do a straight stitch, which is the only stitch you will need to do for this class, you want to make sure that this big knob is turned to these two little dash marks here. Okay, this is the indicator of what it's set to, and you want it turned to those two little dash marks. It doesn't need to zigzag, it doesn't need to do a blind hem, it doesn't need to do any of these other stitches that it can do, just that one right there. Okay, so make sure that that's where it's set to. The next thing is your stitch length, and that's how long your stitches are or how tight they are. Basically how many stitches per inch of sewing. So over here on the side is a knob that will allow you to adjust that. I'm going to step around here so you can see it. You can see that it's got numbers on it from 6 through 24. Okay, 6 is a little bit small. 6 is a little bit long in terms of stitches. 24 is a lot of stitches per inch. You don't want that. So you want that set somewhere around 8, which is where it is right now, and so that's good. Okay. The other thing to note on this side of your machine is that this is your reverse. You will need it when you, I will do a general demonstration of how to do a straight stitch on all of the Kenmores. All of them have a reverse. It's in the same general location on all of them, but it's a little bit different. This one is yours. In order to reverse, you push that button down while you're pressing the foot pedal for the machine to be stitching. It will stitch backwards. When you're ready to go forward, let it go. It'll go forward, and then push it down again, let it go backwards, and then let it come forwards. And that's how you lock off your stitches, okay, is with your reverse button over here. The other thing on this side is your flywheel. This one has a little different mechanism at the top, and so there'll be a separate bobbin winding video, but you do have the same flywheel as most of the machines. It's got a big external circle and then a smaller internal circle on it, and you always turn that flywheel toward you in order to move the needle up and down. Okay. The other thing that's on this side of your machine is your on-off switch, and that's this button right here. Turns the machine on, light comes on, that's how you know it's on, and that's how you can see what you're doing over here. Okay, so that's all of the things over on this side. Let's take a look at how to thread this machine. Okay, your machine's going to come with a spool of thread, not bright orange like this, which is specifically to show up in the video. It will come with a spool of thread, it will come with one wound bobbin, and it will come with one unwound bobbin. Okay, so right now we're going to deal with your top thread, which is what you use your spool for. And if you look up at the top of this machine, it has two different spindles for putting your thread on. You can use either of those two spindles. I tend to use the one that's to the left and that's closer to where I'm going to be threading it, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, so your thread goes onto the spindle, then it comes across and it goes into this keeper up here. Okay, if you look, you can slide your thread behind it and it slips into that notch, and then you hook it into that front keeper like that. Okay, so it's sort of in that notch and then through that keeper. Okay, it goes down and through the tension mechanism. The tension mechanism is the last sort of control knob that's on the front of your machine. You should never need to adjust the tension mechanism. This will turn and you can see you've got some numbers to select from, but we will adjust the tension before it leaves the shop. And unless you are in a consultation of some sort with me or with Julie in a Zoom meeting, you should never need to adjust the tension on your machine. You do, however, need to make sure that your thread comes down and gets through that tension mechanism correctly. Okay, so I'm going to show you what that's all about. If you look back here behind the tension mechanism, behind the tension knob into the tension mechanism is actually these two little metal, they're like little metal wafers back there. And your thread wants to go right down in between those wafers, okay? And it's sort of in front of this little mechanism here. So your thread goes down and through that, okay? Then it comes up, and this arm right here goes up and down. See, I can move it with my finger. This is hard to show because my hands get in the way. But what you want to do is you want to take your thread and you want to pull this arm back. Okay, see, it'll come all the way back until your thread sort of pops in to this hook right here. See that little hook at the top of the tension? Then let that arm go, and then it'll come down, and your thread will be through this hook, okay, and underneath that arm. All right, then bring it up, hook it through that keeper right there, which there's an opening over there. I just slid it through. Then it's ready to come up and go through this arm at the top. And I'm going to want a little cleaner end on that to thread it through this hole at the top. The hole at the top of this is bigger than your hole in your needle, but it's still good to not have fuzzies to make the thread easier to get through there. So pull it through there. Then your thread comes down and it catches in that keeper one more time. Okay, so your thread is coming up through that keeper and then it goes back down through that keeper. Okay, then you've got another thread keeper right here at the front. Okay, then down here on your needle, you see you have two different thread keepers. Doesn't really matter which one you use. I tend to use the one, again, sort of to the left. So hook it through there. Okay, now you're ready to put your thread through your needle. We just clipped it off up there. Hopefully it's good. Okay, and it goes through your needle from front to back because that's how your bobbin goes in the machine. Your needle on a machine tends to thread the direction in which your bobbin pops into the machine. Okay, so front to back, goes through, pull it out the back, and there you go. Okay, so just have a look. Your thread comes from here, it goes over, catches through this keeper, underneath, through the front, down through your tension mechanism, raise your arm so that then it can catch behind there, then up through this keeper, through your arm at the top of the machine, back down through this keeper, through this keeper, you've got one more keeper there, and then through the needle. Okay, last thing we're going to do is we're going to put your bobbin in. Okay, the little door opens right there, your bobbin casing is there. See this little flange on it? If you pull that out and grab it, it'll pull right out of there. Okay, take your bobbin, and you want your thread spooling off toward the right. Turn your bobbin casing around so that it's facing you, and then pop your bobbin into it, again with the thread spooling off to the right. Look up at the top of your bobbin casing and you see this little notch there at the top. You're going to put the thread through that notch, and then your thread will slide underneath this metal piece right there and sort of click and pop into the hole there. So your thread is now coming off to the left. This is sort of like your tension mechanism up here, only on your bobbin. Okay, turn your bobbin around, bobbin casing around, and then you're going to pop it back in. I'm going to tip this up a little bit so you can see. You see this little notch? Let me get my hands out of your way. See this little notch up here at the top? Okay. This arm sort of wants to line up and go into that notch. So pop your casing in there, turn it so your arm is up toward that notch, and then give it a shove, and you hear that nice click, and now it's not spinning free, it's in there nice and firm. Set your machine down. Grab hold of your top thread with your left hand, take your right hand and take your flywheel and turn it towards you. Again, making that needle go down. Keep turning it towards you and towards you, and it will take the top thread, the looper will go down, and then it will come up to the top. That bobbin thread, okay? All right, close up your door and you're ready to sew.